Hello, my name is Darryl Syms, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how you can include chromaticism or chromatics or wrong notes in your solos, just like I did with that piece of music at the beginning of the video. Many guitar players struggle including chromatics in their playing because they tend to get a little bit lost and unsure of what they're doing. So hopefully I'll be able to clear that up for you in today's video. But just before we begin, I would like to invite you to come and check out my website, which is linked in the description below, if you would like to get a more thorough and comprehensive knowledge of your guitar neck. I've got heaps of instructional video series on my website to help you advance your knowledge of the guitar neck and your technique. And if that's not of interest to you, then maybe you'll be interested to get hold of the tab for the piece of music that I played at the beginning of the video and the examples that I'm going to share with you in the latter part of the video, which you'll find on my Patreon page, which is also linked in the description below. With that aside, let's crack on with the lesson. Let's go ahead and use the key of B minor for this demonstration, since that piece of music that you heard at the beginning of the video was also in the key of B minor. Now in the key of B minor, it would be fair to assume that we could use perhaps the B minor pentatonic scale or the B minor scale as good notes to hit. So for example, or all of these notes would be considered correct, and any note that isn't in this scale would be considered wrong. Now if we're going to use the chromatic scale as part of our improvisation, you're obviously going to hit wrong notes. So the question is, how do you play wrong notes and make it sound good? Well, quite simply, the answer to that is don't hang out on wrong notes for too long, and don't play wrong notes on strong rhythmic beats. Now the reason most people, when they attempt to play wrong notes, it really sounds wrong, is because there isn't much strategy behind what they're doing. So what I recommend as a strategy is to have in your mind a point A and a point B. So for example, a point A could be this note here, the minor third, and perhaps just the octave above. And a nice chromatic run between these two could simply be from there to there, playing all 12 notes. And that sounds absolutely fine because I started on a good note and that was a strong rhythmic beat. That was the first beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm hitting that minor third at the end there, back on the 1, which is the strongest rhythmic beat there is. And by hitting these chord tones on those strong rhythmic beats, it just reasserts the key that you're in, versus if you were to perhaps do this. You know, this note does not complement the key at all, and it just sounds like you're a bit lost. Let me go ahead and stick on the backing track and demonstrate what it might sound like if you're not really thinking about a point A or point B, and then what it would sound like if you're consciously considering point B. So you see in that demonstration, there was a point where I had a point A, I was like, okay, I'm about to do a chromatic run, and then I started here, but then I finished here because I wasn't actually thinking about what I was doing. I was just following the chromatic scale until I reached a point, but by the time I got to that point, I realized, oh, that's a wrong note. So when you think about what you're doing and when you have a good sense of fretboard visualization, you're able to anticipate point B or the destination as you approach it. Now what you do in between the starting note and the destination note doesn't necessarily really matter. Your ear will recognize the wrong notes that you play, but naturally will always anticipate that release from the tension that is produced by playing a bunch of these wrong notes. But just be careful when you're experimenting with chromatics, because you don't want to overdo it, because if you play too many wrong notes over a longer period of time, it's not going to sound very musical. So it's important that you find a nice safe balance between chord tones and those chromatic notes. So chord tones being the 1, the flat 3 and the 5. Now the easiest thing for you to try at this point would be to just fill in the gaps between some of the pentatonic notes. So you know the pentatonic scale. But you can begin by filling in the gaps by simply playing the notes in between what you're familiar with. And once you're comfortable playing in this position and filling in the gaps in this position, of course you can just apply the same rules to all other positions of the neck that you're familiar with. Before we wrap up this video, let me just give you a couple licks to take away and start experimenting with in your own playing. So there you have it. That's everything that I want to share with you in today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and managed to take a few things away that you can begin to implement into your practice. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, please go ahead and check out those links in the description below to my website and Patreon, because that's what keeps videos coming on this channel. Thanks for listening. Until next time, I will see you in the next video.